Welcome to the Whole Career Podcast with Advent Health. I'm Brandon Strawn, and I'm joined by my co-host, Sky Kellogg.
Each episode features conversations with various healthcare professionals who will share their personal career journeys, insights, and perspectives on various healthcare careers. From nursing to technology to leadership, we'll cover a wide range of topics to help you stay informed and inspired.
Whether you're just starting out in your healthcare career, looking to pivot, or a seasoned professional looking to take the next step, this podcast is for you. We hope to empower you with the knowledge and the tools needed to make a positive impact in your field. At Advent Health, we believe that we are greater as a whole, and we invite you to join us on this journey as we explore the world of healthcare careers together. Welcome. Today we have Scott Evans with us to discuss his incredible career and journey with Advent Health. We're honored to have you on the podcast, Scott. Would you mind introducing yourself, your title, and just giving us an overview of your current role within the company?
Yeah, absolutely. And hey, Sky, Brandon, thanks for this opportunity. My name is Scott Evans. I've been with Advent Health it'll be 10 years in November, actually. I work as a data warehouse analyst for corporate analytics. And my team, basically what we do is we curate data for a few of the executive level dashboards. Our primary focus is EDE, or Enterprise Daily Executive, which provides both clinical and business metrics from like high level analytics all the way down to very fine grain, which allows leaders to make quality, timely decisions for Advent Health.
So, Scott, do you mind just telling us what leaders you provide this information or this analytics for?
Absolutely. So our reports are viewed primarily by C-suite. We've got a lot of CFOs. I believe Terry even and it goes in there and looks at some of our reporting. It provided value both on the business side for revenue reporting, things like that, especially valuable during the pandemic times when we were hit pretty hard, but also provides daily updates on our admissions, discharges, our census, what our individual business units are actually doing across the entire organization, which helps those leaders, those CFOs, whomever it is, to make pretty real-time decisions, especially early in a day. They can take action if they see that something needs to be addressed, or even just work ahead to make proactive decisions.
Yeah, and Scott, do you think you could talk to us about your career path and how you got into the role that you're currently in today?
Absolutely. So after high school, I enlisted in the United States Navy and served for 15 years and finished my time with the Navy as an intelligence analyst for special operations. During my time in the Navy, I was deployed 3 times. My first deployment, my battle group, I was with the USS Enterprise battle group. We were on our way back from our Arabian Gulf time, and we were in the Red Sea when 9/11 happened. So we got turned around and were the first battle group to be firing missiles into Afghanistan after that. My third and final deployment was I spent a year on the ground in Afghanistan, and during that time, we have a little bit of free time here and there, and so I decided to start working on my master's degree in information systems. When I got back and got out of the Navy, this allowed me to kind of transition to a civilian job better, and I was very prepared to start employment with Florida Hospital at the time on the data management services team, which eventually was merged with AIT.
And I know you mentioned getting your master's. So you got your bachelor's. What did you get your bachelor's in before getting your in information systems?
Yeah, I finished my bachelor's very shortly before my final deployment, and that bachelor's was in electronics engineering and technology, the Bachelor of Science degree. And then I kind of rolled pretty much straight into that. I was doing online school straight into the master's in information systems. And there's a lot of I wasted 2 deployments, basically. I felt horrible when I got a little bit older because, like I said, we got some downtime during these deployments. We're gone. And a lot of people were doing, first deployment was like correspondence type courses. But, once the internet kind of really got more robust and started servicing virtual courses, people started doing that. And I was like, you know what, I'm not going to sit here and waste a year on the ground in Afghanistan doing nothing to better myself. So kind of rolled straight into that. And it worked out pretty well because, like I said, prepared me very well for entering a data-driven career with Florida Hospital at the time.
That's awesome. So if I could just ask a follow-up question to that, how did you hear about Florida Hospital? Like, what was it like, when you were like in the interview process? Like, how did you come about, after you had retired from, the Navy. How did you come about strolling up upon Florida Hospital at the time, Florida Hospital?
Yeah. So I think I think we're going to cover some of this in further questions of dealing with like the difficulty it is,
Yeah.
transitioning out of the military. But I spent a few months searching for a job, and it was kind of, it's heartbreaking because the military sets you up and makes you think that, you're walking out of the military, you got top secret clearance, you're going to be a very valuable member to some team out there. And, it's difficult finding a job, especially kind of transitioning out of the military. So I had looked around, hit the big military wickets, looked at Lockheed, Raytheon, L3, the big ones that you think you're going to walk out and go into a government contract job and make the big money and all this stuff. And crickets, nothing. And so I had a friend at the time that worked at Florida Hospital in HR, and she said, "Hey, listen, look at this job, apply for it, whatever." And to be honest, I couldn't read the rec at all. I couldn't read the job description. It made no sense to me. And so I applied, went in for the interview, and it was a really, really good interview, the best one I've ever had in my entire life. And it was good, but I just was in the right place at the right time, networked, knew somebody that was in there, and they pointed me in the right direction, and it was just ended up being a very good fit for the role.
And Scott, I know, like you said, you touched on a little bit, and again, we both thank you for your incredible amount of service and everything that you have dedicated to this country, and knowing the difficulties that you had transitioning into civilian life. You just touched on those, but can you talk about what that job search was like, and did you have any other interviews, or what sort of feedback were you getting, if nothing at all, from these other companies you were applying to?
Yeah, absolutely. So, like I said, it's you do the time in the military. I did 15. A lot of people end up doing 20. You can go in at 18, 19 years old and end up retiring at 38, 39, and never have done stuff that normal civilian. That's part of normal civilian life, right? So, writing a resume, interviewing, even beyond that. In the military, you don't have to negotiate pay. That's all set up in advance. There's a chart on the wall they update every single year based on your time in service, based on your rank. That's what you make. Benefits, healthcare, all that stuff is covered. So you don't really have to enter that space. It's there. So when you get out, unless you're prepared, really, really prepared for it, or find some organization or something to walk you through it, you don't know. And the military, I think that the programs they have set up for transitioning active service members to civilian life have gotten better over time. But the military is not really set up to want you to leave, right? So they want to keep you there. They're not trying to encourage you to leave by setting you up. So, and like I said, they've gotten better, to be fair, but it's still not enough to help really prepare you for that journey. So, yeah, it was tough, and it takes a while to understand what it takes to make a resume. I can't just dump all my military experience on a piece of paper and have a civilian employer who has no, even if they do have military experience, try to weed through that and figure out how that is valuable to them. So yeah, it's tough. You think, hey, I was a valuable member of this organization for whatever the period of time. I'm going to be able to easily replicate that in civilian life. And it doesn't work out all the time. And yeah, I had a lot of crickets. I had a lot of silence when I put in a wide range of resumes over time. And yeah, it just had some interviews. Just you kind of tell when interviews don't go well, or might not be the best fit. So I had a few of those too. But thankfully, my eventual boss at the time, Robert Althamos and Reno Rankin, they gave me a shot, and it worked out really well. So, but yeah, it was about 4 months worth of time I spent searching, and I mean that was just after I'd gotten back. I'd been looking for a job while I was employed as well, and it's disheartening at times. But I look back on that experience now and thankful that I was able to navigate that successfully, and very thankful for the career I have.
Yeah, most definitely. And I know this is a cause that you're very passionate about and that you're involved in support groups such as 4Block. So would you mind being able to just give our listeners an overview of what 4Block is and how you're involved in that, and then how that's an available resource to veterans who are looking to make that transition back into civilian life and finding a job?
Absolutely. So 4Block, their website is 4block.org, is a non-for-profit organization that is really simply dedicated to helping current active service members and veterans transition into that civilian employment. So what they do is they have students. So you enroll in as a cohort, and you spend 12 weeks learning this type of stuff we just talked about: resume writing, uh, interview skills, and not just that type of stuff. Also networking. You don't understand networking in the military, but we do it all the time. It's really very intuitive once you kind of understand what it is. But as you're getting out of the military, you don't understand that the massive amount of help that networking is, because you think, oh, I just don't want to use people. I don't want people think I'm trying to abuse the relationship or anything like that. But yeah, doing things like that. So basically what 4Block does is they have this class 12 weeks long, and these members of their cohort, these students, come in for these 12 weeks, and they sit and they get taught how to do these individual things. A different topic for a different week. One's resume writing or creating a master resume. The next one might be targeting resume, negotiating the salary, all that type of stuff. So each week, different topic. But then they are also, during that class, put in front of an employer who's a partner with 4Block, who is looking to employ veterans. So, and these are employers in our area: Amazon, Lockheed, ADP, these type of employers, and Advent Health. So for the past 3 years, we at Advent Health mainly focused on our veterans group, but also partnered with members of our HR team. Saida Gomez, Skies helped out. Partners with our DE&I team, Jessica Brazier has come out. And what we do is we gather together. Some of it was virtual, online during the pandemic days. We've actually hosted 2 in-person events as well. And so we hosted on campus whenever we did it in person, and they would come out. 4Block did, their instructors, their students, and we would be able to represent Advent Health, the best of our core values, our service standards, to the members of this cohort. And some of them are asking questions. They're wanting to find out how our transition went. They're wanting to find out about our values, our culture within Advent Health. And we have that opportunity to not only present Advent Health, but to network with these veterans who are eventually going to be looking for employment. So, and sometimes that looks like, hey, they're wanting a job with Advent Health. Sometimes just learning our story and allowing them to tell theirs, and showing that there are success stories out there. And so as long as they keep pecking at it, they can navigate the process. And there's always resources out there, like other veterans, to come alongside them and help. And additionally, within 4Block, it's not just our presentation nights, but some of our members of our veterans group have partnered with 4Block to be kind of coaches or mentors to their cohort members during the time. And so what they'll do is 4Block will assign the mentor 2 or 3 students, and this mentor kind of comes alongside them. They have weekly touch points and helps them kind of hit the wickets for their deliverables each week, and make sure that they're prepared to come to class, and also is just to be there as a support, as a friend, help them navigate that process.
That's wonderful. Thank you for your support of that. And I know so many have benefited from it, so we appreciate that.
Absolutely.
I wanted to say this to every recruiter listening, because take the time to really look at someone who has served in the military's resume, because it's, as you mentioned with 4Block, like helping and assisting with creating the resume, but also learning how to make sure that what's on that resume, you make that like transferable. And sometimes it's not like black and white, like you were mentioning. And I know that I've had, my fair share of experiences in the past with recruiting a veteran, and working with them to understand, okay, like I really want to understand what job you can qualify for with the skills. It's not that you don't have skills. I want to make sure I can match it up effectively. So I just want to let every recruiter out there know, take the extra time, dive a little bit deeper, because the skills are there, but it's not as clear as, finding a job title that exactly matches that every single time. So I'm glad that 4Block is assisting with that, because I learned that in my experience as a recruiter, that it's not always as black and white, but it doesn't mean that there's not a ton of sometimes overqualified, of veterans that are looking for jobs. So I appreciate you
Sure.
speaking on that.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'll throw in one more thing here too, is that one of the takeaways I've learned from 4Block, is really just my experience working with them, is that um, we can do better for everyone, but we're specifically focused on the veteran community right here. When we're going out, we're representing Advent Health, and we're saying, hey, we've got jobs for you. And we network with these members of the cohort, with these students, and they come back and go, hey, I want to explore this, whatever it is. And my dream is to provide some sort of really catered experience for that, being able to go, hey, listen, yeah, let's provide somebody to help guide you through that process. Let's walk you through it, rather than just chucking you at the website and going, have fun, figure it out, And so, that's a goal of mine I really want to get to. And I think we're doing a better job these days, but it's really, it's taking some time, and it'd be really awesome if we can get to a point where we say, hey, we have jobs. They go, okay, great, let's do this. And we not throw them at the website, or say, hey, apply for these things, and then let's talk about it afterwards, or something like that. So it just keeping pushing forward with, like you said, finding the value in the person, and then kind of helping go above and beyond to help them kind of walk through this very difficult time, and stressful, challenging time of uncertainty is definitely a goal, and I think something we can definitely improve as we move forward.
Absolutely. So shifting back over to what you do for Advent Health, what does your day-to-day look like, whether it's like task-based, long-term projects? Take us through what you're doing on a daily basis.
Has anybody really had a day-to-day since pandemic started? I feel like
Yeah.
Not really.
So yeah, it's been 3 years, guys, and it's something going on all the time, it feels like. And it's not just pandemic related, but we get into pandemic. We were ramping up for Epic before pandemic started, and then that pandemic put a monkey wrench in everything. So we were going swinging toward Epic and sunsetting Cerner all at the same time, and then in the midst of that, we're having to learn new tools that are engaging with our Epic data set, learning Epic. So my team specifically, and a lot of the teams I work with have been in kind of a transition, like a perpetual transition over the past few years. And so it's been hitting kind of these major milestones, setting up Epic, setting up new tools, transitioning, learning. So these kind of big, larger things, but then also having to hit the daily tasks. We're customer facing, so we have customers coming to us for different data profiling and fixing stuff, and analyzing the new data sets that are coming in, matching it up with the old ones, making sure that we're providing good quality data, value to our dashboards, value to our leadership. So it constantly has felt like putting out each individual fire on the edge of like one really big one for the past few years. But we're getting through it. We're kind of in the home stretch of this right now. We've got our Oracle based databases that we're kind of sunsetting, ramping up on our new cloud solutions. So it's really, I'm looking forward to that being done, and kind of getting back to a day-to-day, which is going to be just a regular development cycle, process improvement, really polishing up the products that we put out there to our customers and stuff. But it's been fun over the past few years, but tiring too.
Yeah. And Scott, I'm sure there are many listening right now who are interested in pursuing a role in data and technology. So with so many systems and technology out there right now, what are some of the systems that are up and coming in IT, informatics, and what should those candidates be learning, and why?
Yeah, absolutely. I think we've seen over the past few years, and even outside of IT, I think we've all have contact with consumer, electronics and devices and things. We all understand to some varying degree that the cloud is a thing. Everything's moving to the cloud, or has. We've heard Amazon Web Services, Azure. A lot of these platforms are moving from these clunky individual installs and big, infrastructure where each organization has to maintain it themselves, to these cloud-based solutions, which is really cool. So this is stuff it's newer for me having to deal with it in a professional type situation, but that seems to be the future. I mean, it's the current and is going to continue to be the future. Generative AI too. We've had presentations, in-house presentations at Advent Health that have kind of touched on that. We've seen some of the benefits, some of the scary kind of Terminator aspects of that as well. That's going to be. It seems like it's going to be able to be implemented in some very worthwhile ways at some point in time. So, but I mean, some of these solutions aren't necessarily the ones we're hearing about from other places as well. We've had some homegrown solutions that are very, very cool that have provided a lot of assistance to us as we've been making these transitions from, like we just talked about, all of these transitions we've made onto Epic, going to the cloud. So we've got a team that we work with. It's called Squirrel Team, SQRL. And it's comprised of some members, Ray Vasquez, Scott Coonsley, Anthony Tikhonov, Rob Bounce, and some others. They built us a custom solution from scratch within our organization. And basically what that's done is it's helped assist our efforts in transitioning to the cloud. And so we can have all these awesome resources out there, these big, shiny things, and the names that you recognize. But we've also got team members, our own team members that are contributing to the cause, building stuff within our organization that is kind of helping to make this this whole new day and age a reality. So it's very, very cool. So there's basically, I guess my point is, to answer the question better, hopefully, focus on the cloud, focus on all the tools that are relevant to whatever is the job is that they need to do. But don't be afraid to innovate within the organization, to put in the effort, to make things easy, to own it. That type of stuff for each individual situation is going to look different, but always investing is it's a good thing to do.
Awesome. Thanks for sharing that. And for someone listening who, of course, wants to maybe do what you're doing, would you suggest, and you're very accomplished as far as education goes, so would you suggest them getting educated traditionally, or is this something they can learn on their own? As far as what you were speaking about, like learning the cloud and the different systems, can they learn this on their own on YouTube or something, or is this something they need to go to school for?
Well, that's a great question. You're reminding me of something I missed with FourBlock. So FourBlock, and I know I'm veering off, but I'll circle back.
No, totally fine.
FourBlock has an education requirement. So they in addition to being a veteran or an active service member, they require at least a bachelor's degree to go through. So they want some sort of investment. I think the education, to that point, I think the education is worthwhile. All education, as long as you're moving forward, you're processing. We're always learning every single day, whether it's formal or not. So having some sort of formal education is, as long as it's quality, definitely going to be helpful. But that's helpful. That was helpful to me to get in the door at Florida Hospital at the time. But again, we're always learning, right? So we've got to be willing to learn, willing to grow, understanding that things change. And sometimes that's learning within our organization hands-on. Sometimes that's taking a bit of extra time, going to courses, learning, like I said, there's a lot of good assets out there, web-based assets that didn't used to exist. And we can go learn anything we want to pretty much anytime. I've fixed our dryer like 3 different times now, just going and watching somebody on YouTube go, yep, it's the heating coil. You got to do this, take this screw out. All right, okay, now I know how to do that. Now, granted, I'm not going to go, fix appliances for a living, but it's something that's nice to be able to learn to do. So I think there's value in education, no matter, wherever it's valuable to you, whatever makes sense. So, but I'm always going to be an advocate of having some level of formal education, especially if it's, it enhances your career process. But I think what that does, having that piece of paper, if for nothing else, shows you're committed to starting and completing a thing. And then having that, and you go, all right, well, now I've got to continue to learn for the rest of my life. We're never out of school. We should never be out of school in a learning capacity sense, not necessarily in an official capacity, but we should never we feel like we're done learning. So, take that for what it is. I always find opportunities to learn something every day. So even if it's maybe not helping my job, but whatever.
Right. Absolutely.
No, yes, and obviously that's vital, Scott, and what you touched on leads me to my next question, because I think this is really important for anyone listening to understand, especially those in the recruitment field. But what are some of those experiences that you took from your time in the Navy that have really benefited you in your current role and allowed you to succeed, maybe even beyond those that just came, out of college and didn't have that prior background that you had?
Yeah, absolutely. So there was a couple of things that I not only identified at the time when I was newly hired, but I've continued to watch how I engage with other people and see what value I add to my team or our department or whatever. And so it just looked for things that maybe were not officially like taught in the military, but kind of like soft skills or something like that. So really two things have stuck out. One, in the military, we are put in a very diverse environment from day one. You've got people from not just all over our own country that are in our military, but there's a plenty of people who have come from other countries who are seeking their citizenship or whatever, and or just have a different background that have come in and serve in the military. So, and it's not just us dealing with people on our own branch either. Much of my time was spent on military bases from other branches. So it's inter-branch, it's interpersonal relationships that are developed, and from people that are all over our country, from other countries, different backgrounds, different belief systems. So you end up working with a very diverse group of people, and you learn over time. You spend vast quantities of time on watch, hours at a time, sitting on a wall, sitting in a chair, and you talk and you learn about people's backgrounds. You learn about that. And so, their faith systems and all that stuff. So when I came to, Florida Hospital at the time, Advent Health now, my team is very diverse, and we've always been, and as we've rotated through people over time, people from different backgrounds, different nationalities, different faith systems, all represented within the teams that I specifically work with within my department. And I think that time in the military really helped open me up, and opens up a lot of our service members to the idea of valuing others and embracing, even if we don't agree necessarily on everything, don't agree on our faith or whatever, to really embrace that person, look for value in them. We teach our daughters, my wife and I, we teach our daughters to love our neighbors as ourselves, no matter what they look like or where they come from or what they believe. And I think that's really kind of, I learned that, throughout life, but primarily in the military, and I've been able to translate that into my work at Advent Health. And then the second thing is working in a team. So when I was hired, I was specifically told they were looking for somebody that was green and teachable, but also someone who was going to be able to come in and join the team and not be disruptive, cause problems. You want somebody that's going to be able to come in and fit in, join the culture, contribute, that sort of thing. And that's definitely a military trait. You're never alone in the military. You always have a team. You always have some people around you. The camaraderie value in the military is very high. So being able to work together, trust that person you're working next to has got your back, have them trust you that you've got their back is a massive thing. I find so much value in that. And it's been really cool to be able to take that out of military land, bring it to civilian land, and embrace my team, be able to work with them, and continually build that team, build that camaraderie each day has been really cool. And I wouldn't have had the same level of success that I have negotiating that each day if it hadn't been for my experience in the Navy.
Those are great, specific to you and really to the community as a whole. And I think those are wonderful things to keep in mind. And I definitely want to hit that that fact home, that the way that you raise your family is a beautiful thing, and to love your neighbor as yourself. If only we all could could live that way, right? But I think that also really ties back into how culturally you are a wonderful representation of Advent Health, because that is how we operate here in the organization. So thank you so much for sharing that.
Yeah, no, we really appreciate that. So how do you think organizations like Advent Health can play a role in bridging the gap between veterans and the broader community?
Right. So it's a very good question, and it kind of points back to the origins of a lot of the initiatives that we've been doing within our veterans group within Advent Health. I had a conversation with a member of our HR team about 6 or 7 years ago, which really started this ball rolling for me. The conversation centered around our understanding and our meaning, both as military veterans and a civilian employer, what it's like for a person to transition out of the military. And it became very evident quickly that at least, that the representative of Advent Health I was speaking with, they didn't really understand the challenges of a veteran faces in not only attaining civilian employment, but also just adjusting to civilian life, because it's massively different than what you experience in the military. So we continued to have these conversations over time and understood that we need to, like I said, have a bridge this gap, and it's a knowledge gap in understanding the veteran and within the civilian organization, but it's also a gap of knowledge for the veterans and the service members understanding what they need to do to prepare themselves to become a civilian, to become a civilian employee, and the things that they need to do to communicate their worth to a civilian employer. So we've spent a lot of time, had a lot of conversations with people in HR, people in D&I, different organizations that help veterans, to make this transition. And really, I think that the role that Advent Health can play is just continuing to have these conversations to minimize that disconnect, be an advocate. Advent Health can be a massive advocate. We're a huge organization. We could be a massive advocate for veterans, to not only within our organization, but in the other organizations that we have contact with, that we influence throughout the United States, throughout the world. If you think about it, there's all sorts of stuff all sorts of facets to this whole entire conversation. So one example, you say, think like an infantry person. So somebody that's primarily been in the Army, basic guy with a gun on the line, that might not translate out well into civilian life. You don't really go, hey, I'm going to carry the gun and go out in civilian life, unless you're going to be a police officer or some other law enforcement. But veterans all possess soft skills that don't show up on resumes. If we have this understanding and we take it as an organization, we kind of talked about the soft skills before, but we have other stuff like leadership and being able to operate in like high stress, dynamic environments. We've been in very diverse environments, good teammates, all this stuff, soft skills that don't translate out, right? But you guys were just talking about this. We need to get better at doing that, and we can advocate not only for the veterans in our organization, we can advocate for everyone in our community, help bridge these gaps in communication, help everybody on all sides understand what it's like to be a veteran, what we're bringing in the door, and help bridge that gap, help translate the experience into civilian life, and just show the value, show the community, show that we embrace our veterans, and not only just for hiring purposes, but for partnering, for we care for you, we want to give back to our community type of situation.
And if you could share, I know that we have an event coming up in October. I'm certain that you are involved in that. If you wanted to share just about that event that's happening in the West Florida Division in October.
Yeah, absolutely. So what we've been doing is having some conversations over time around, specifically around recruiting, trying to get more veterans to join our organization. So, and a lot of the stuff that we've talked about, just here recently about bridging that gap, plays into that conversation. How do we, as an organization, bring more veterans in if we don't understand what a veteran's gone through, how, the things that they're struggling to do, maybe even struggling to write a resume. So what we've identified as something that we want to invest in is not only having a hiring type of event for focused on bringing everybody in, but also focused on bringing veterans in, but also create some community around that. So be able to provide a veteran face to veterans coming into who were interested in walking in the door to our organization, understanding, being a veteran, understanding that having that resume and it making sense to an organization might not be the exact same thing. So being able to sit down, have people who are really good at translating, into good resume fodder, help them do that, help them sit down at these events and build the resume, modify it, help them point them in right direction. Say, hey, listen, it seems like you've got this type of experience. This might be good at this type of job that you might not have thought about with an organization. You see Advent Health and we go, oh, Advent Health is a healthcare organization, but people might not know we have a massive IT presence. We have supply chain, engineering, all this type of stuff that we do that might not be particularly, might not be evident to somebody, but you go, this is a value, and these people might have really good experience. They just need help translating that out. So I think what the goal here is to go, hey, yeah, we want to get people in the door, but we want to make sure you feel welcome. We want to make sure that that someone's here who understands maybe not your exact path, maybe not your exact journey, but has been on something similar, and we're going to try to go walk this path together and get you to where you need to be. And I think that's the goal, right? It's not just about jobs. It's not just about jobs. It's about people. We try to treat people as best, help, partner, mentor, be friends, be love to the people that are walking in the door there.
Yeah, and it's a whole experience. And of course, this is the recruiter side of me coming out. Like, every person that applies should have a good experience, whether they get the job or not, right? So
Right.
I think we need to focus on that applicant experience, and that's one of the things. Like, I think with in my time with Advent, and I've been with other companies, right? Like, it's easy for you to just get a resume and application and just share it directly with the hiring manager and say, hey, let me know if you want to interview this person. One of the things that we do at Advent that I love is that we get that application, and then the recruiter first does an intake, right? We look at the resume, but then we're responsible for calling the applicant and doing an intake, because we know that there just may be things on the resume that we can't tell, or we can't identify unless we actually talk to that person. And so after we have that intake, that's when we go ahead, after we've had a better feel of who that person is outside of the resume, that's when we go ahead and send it off to the hiring manager, not only attached with resume, but also with intake notes. And so to speak to your point, I think it's important, for that whole experience to kind of just be more extensive than just sharing a resume and then getting shared, right? So yeah, I'm excited for the event, and for anyone that's interested, right? It's an open invitation event for veterans, for networking purposes, building camaraderie, fellowshipping, and of course, as you mentioned, Scott, the ability for them to work on their resume at the event as well.
Absolutely.
And I know the intent is for this to be rolled out to other regions. We hold hiring events and expos throughout all of our regions within Advent Health. So, Scott, I know this is a small step in a much larger picture, but how does this step really coming to life make you feel, and what do you hope to see, stem from this in the future?
Yeah, it's awesome. It's an awesome initiative that has really come to life. The investment in by the organization into valuing veterans is specifically with this event is awesome. We started these conversations 7 years ago, and it's amazing that the groundwork we've made during this time, and I'm really excited about this event. I'm really excited about maybe rolling this out to the other regions, and just continuing to show the communities that we care about our community at large, but also focus on the veteran community, and really again just provide that point of contact on the way in. we having conversations and some of the stuff we've done within our Advent Health Veterans Group. One of the things that we're trying to build up is I like to call it battle buddies, but just have somebody that you can rely on, somebody that can come in day one, be there for you. You're not alone. And we had that in the military. We had when you go to a new command, we just have to switch duty stations or commands every 3 years ish, and so you're constantly on the move. And you're constantly the new guy. Every 3 years, you're the new guy walking in. So you'd be assigned a mentor, a sponsor, somebody who's there from day one to help walk you through. Hey, there's the chow, there's this, that, there's supply, there's whatever it is. And so at least you knew you weren't alone walking in the door. We kind of don't have that same level of engagement necessarily like built in an official capacity in our civilian employers, but that's something we can build, and that within the veterans community is something I want to start really focusing in on. I think these type of events give us that opportunity to walk out there and go, hey, you're not alone from day one. Even if I don't work together with you, even if I'm not on the same campus, let's connect, let's reach out, let's kind of at least help guide those first few days and months until you get comfortable and settled. And then, hey, I'm always here. So even if you want to reach out whenever, years down the road, let's continue to connect.
Awesome. And I think, you already answered our next question, but just asking about the retention efforts and things that you may be working on or things that you see for the future. I think that's an awesome retention effort, right? A lot of people forget that, as we mentioned, the experience coming in. You mentioned the point of contact coming in and not waiting until you're actually inside to try and find someone and maybe scramble for finding a buddy or something like that. So I think that could be really huge in just retention efforts, right, for our veteran community, which you kind of covered. Are there any other things that you think that you're engaging with right now with any of our HR leaders to talk about retention for the veteran community?
Yeah, absolutely. So like I said, this kind of whole ball started rolling about 6-7 years ago, and really soon after I had those kind of initial conversations with HR, when we identified like you said, the gaps between civilian employment and transitioning veterans, I realized that there was a few veterans kind of doing our own initiatives within the organization. And so what we did is we agreed to come together and put all of our eggs in the same basket to try to push the ball forward. So at that time, we decided to focus on three things. We wanted to help the organization hire more veterans. We wanted to take better care of the veterans that we have. And then we wanted to reach out and take care of our community better, focus on veterans in our own community, but our communities at large as well. So that was our three tenets, the thing we've kind of built this whole grassroots effort within the organization. So this was myself, Steve Rayom, he's known as Stever within our organization, and Jeff Sherrill. We came together and have been kind of focused on this whole thing since then. So we established partnerships with talent acquisition, talent strategy. Like we just mentioned, the hiring event. We've been handling other events like Forbach, things like that. Diversity, equity, inclusion has come out and really they sponsored some of our events. They've been a really awesome partner. Jessica has been so cool since she's come on board a couple of years ago. Really been a great partner, and we're starting to make some real progress. But we've got a long way to go. And so if we look around in other organizations, we see Lockheed Martin, Amazon, very visible, very robust veterans programs, including employee resources or affinity groups, and they're really reaching out to the community. So at Advent Health, we pride ourselves on providing world-class whole person care, but with full buy-in from the top down, we could really build ourselves as a leader in veteran care and engagement as well. And that's my goal, is to really kind of like get our organization as a whole involved, get us visible, get us robust, build it, and make sure that we set the tone. We could be the leader by which everyone else sets their standard for care of veterans within their organizations and within their communities.
Yeah, those tenets, Scott, are so important, and I think it's incredible. And it probably goes without saying, but just that you've taken this upon yourself with your fellow veteran team members to build this support system, because it just takes one spark to light that fire. And I know you've been working on that for a long time, so we applaud you for that, and hope that this conversation is heard throughout the organization, and that you continue to receive the support and resources that you need to continue to make the difference. So we again just appreciate that, and want to give you another avenue to share some information in regards to what you would like other veterans to think about when they're transitioning into the healthcare sector. Is there any message that you'd like to share with them as they're maybe entering a similar realm to you?
Yeah, it's an awesome question, and this is a great opportunity to be able to hopefully connect with the other veterans. But I've kind of mentioned, throughout this time that we were set up. A lot of us, leaving the military, were set up to focus on very specific career paths. We talked about government contract and things like that. And there's the big shiny happy things that we're sent off at, chasing after. But there's other valuable careers out there to be had. One of our more recent 4-block cohorts had a student come in, and they said something to the effect of, I thought Advent Health was just a healthcare company, and so it felt kind of like we were minimized whenever they're comparing us to Lockheed Martin or Amazon or whomever. And I would really encourage any active service member or who's transitioning out, or a veteran looking for employment, so to really take a second look at other companies, especially within Advent Health. We're not just a healthcare company, are we? We talked about this before. We're IT, we're supply chain. We take care of. There's spiritual ministries as well within our organization. So, and all of our training in the military should be valued at any organization, and especially within healthcare. I don't know if you guys know this, but every single military member, every single one, is trained regularly on healthcare. And it seems odd, right? We're not only taught how to take care of ourselves, because you've seen the horrible things in some movies and stuff that can happen by just self-neglect whenever you're out in the field or whatever over
Right.
time. But we're all trained on life support, combat medicine. You think of all the nasty things that can happen when people get shot at or explosives go off, and all of us are we're trained while in the service very regularly for all that stuff. I've had conversations with my wife, who's a nurse, about some of the stuff. We've kind of compared notes on stuff we were trained on, and we were trained to address, like, triage some stuff that she's like, "Oh, I haven't had to deal with that ever," and I'm like, "Yeah, it was nasty." So, you think about that and you go, we all have an affinity, as military members have an affinity toward healthcare, every single one of us already, before we walk out the door. So healthcare should be, even if we don't end up with a career as a practitioner, direct patient care, that type of thing, we have that affinity built in already. We should be able to translate out our our experience into some civilian life, especially within healthcare, especially hopefully at Advent Health. And hopefully Advent Health is demonstrating to these transitioning veterans and service members that we value them, and hopefully that's very visible to them. And one other thing I'd say to these veterans, this really doesn't have to deal with employment, but keep telling your story. Everybody, keep telling your story. There's people out there struggling every day. Suicide rate is massive in the veteran population, to the tune of almost 1 an hour. So it's double the rate of people that have not served. So keep telling your story. Somebody out there might need to hear it and understand that success can be had. You can continue to move on. There are other people like you out there with the similar stories. So keep telling them the values in the story. Somebody might find value in that, might help someone navigate some very tough circumstances. So always keep telling that story.
Thank you, Scott. And Scott, obviously, we appreciate you sharing your story today. And this next part of our conversation, I think, really will speak volumes as to where your story is taking you, and how you see your story changing. So I know that you are continuing your education. Would you mind speaking to us about that, and why you chose to study what you're studying now?
Yeah, absolutely. So along this journey, the opportunity, the massive blessing that it's been to be able to involve myself with this mission of helping veterans at Advent Health. Within this, I learned that I needed some tools. I need some tools in the tool belt. We've spent a lot of time attacking this. If there's a problem to be attacked, and understanding, the veterans' experience transitioning to civilian life, we've attacked this specifically from a employment type of thing mostly. We've kind of hit on the personal aspects, personal relationships, building camaraderie, that sort of thing. But there's a spiritual aspect to it too. We at Advent Health, we look at the whole person. The spirit is a large portion of that. So there's a spiritual aspect. And I thought, you know what, as we're doing this, I might want to put some tools in the belt to help in that manner. So I, before pandemic, had been looking at programs to enroll in seminary. And so, pandemic hit, and I was like, this is as good a time as any. So I enrolled in a master's degree program at a seminary, and just here a couple months ago finished my thesis and earned my master's degree in Christian apologetics. So, but the whole entire point of that was to just learn what it's like to be able to communicate into that spiritual space. Especially focus, for anybody, but specifically focused on our veterans. Learn what I could, and see how I could apply these new tools, the education, into the spiritual space for them.
That's incredible.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I think I'm amazed at your commitment to others, because once again, like, your reasoning for even why was like, hey, I need to, if I'm going to continue to help people and continue to help people at a high level, like, I need to add stuff to my tool belt. So that's like inspiration to me, to understand that, sometimes you don't add stuff to your tool belt just for your personal gain, right? Or your personal professional development, but you can do it solely to help others. And so that's, that speaks volumes. So I appreciate you sharing that.
Yeah, what else is that I can't say that I could have done it with fully without having the buy-in from Advent Health as well. There was a point when about midway or so through my process here, earning that degree, that the education benefits came online, and I was able to take advantage of that for my last few semesters. So that definitely helped. Helped out financially, because I was, footing the bill on the whole thing myself. So they, having those past few semesters really, covered by the organization, our Advent Health education benefits was really a massive blessing, and I'm very thankful for that as well.
That's awesome. So really quickly, we're going to wrap up here. But what does the next 3 to 5 years look like for Scott Evans?
Well, I'm very happy to be done with this education. I'm very happy to be exactly where I am right now. But yeah, looking forward. Wow. So professionally, just continuing to, like I said, we're going to be getting back into hopefully a normal day-to-day life cycle of our development. Just continuing to learn, build skill sets, learn our new tools, get really invested in this new infrastructure we've got, and hopefully be able to continue to crank out good quality products that are valued within the organization. That's professionally, that's all I got right now, because we've been putting out these fires left, right, and center. So I'm like, let's just get back to the normal, and then we're going to set some really good goals here soon. But within the veterans group, continue to build, grow, get more buy-in from the organization, build our recruiting effort, build our interpersonal relationships within the organization, build smaller veterans groups in our other regions so they can start standing up themselves and doing local events, reaching out to their own communities, that sort of thing. Really would love, there's been some interest in that. We've grown so much that it's hard to kind of address where to start. This whole push into Tampa with our veterans initiative that we've talked about in October as a good focal point for that, and we could start hopefully building some infrastructure there. And then personally, just again continuing to learn, maybe continuing some schooling, spending time with my family. They sacrificed a lot while I was in school, so going on some trips, just being able to kind of relax and enjoy life on the other side of pandemic. We had, pandemic was tough with little ones in the house. So our oldest was in kindergarten in 2020, got sent home, and she stayed home the entire first grade year as well. Youngest was 2 whenever it started. So we brought her home from daycare, and she spent a lot of time with me during the day. So just being able to re-engage with life, do life again, and watch them grow, engage with my wife, and take date nights again, and that type of stuff is going to be really cool to do.
Yeah.
That's sounds very well deserved.
All right, cool. So really quick, are you a coffee or tea guy?
Neither. Red Bull guy. No, I don't know if we're supposed to give explanations on this or not, but
Oh no, it's just
no, you're
rapid
good.
fire, yeah.
You're good. We'll do the next one. Your favorite book or movie?
Movie is Pulp Fiction.
Morning person or night owl?
Bit of both, I guess.
Beach or mountains?
Mountains.
Dogs or cats?
Dogs.
What's your favorite season of the year?
Now it's probably winter. It was summer as a kid, but definitely winter now.
As a final thought, wanted to ask you, what do you want people to take away from this conversation, and how do you hope your story will impact others?
I hope that I feel like what we've done in the veteran space over the past few years has been very visible to everyone within the organization. So I really do. But hopefully if somebody's not been touched by that, and wants to, even if you're not a veteran, want to come alongside and understand that there are a lot of veterans working within our organization, and you can be a champion. They call them veterans champions. It's somebody that just wants to help. And so learning somebody's story, asking good questions, it's always valuable for me to hear, thank you for your service. But spending that time and learning somebody's story is always super valuable. And that to me is one of the biggest takeaways. I would say if even if I wasn't a veteran, just to hear this and go, man, I can engage more. I can be a bigger advocate. And then I feel like I probably did a bit of disservice for talking about my own career in Advent Health, or the job that I have. But there's a lot of us whose careers might not touch patients directly, and in dealing with data, dealing with back end stuff, it's like you don't have that ability to engage with the patients. There was a question on one of our engagement surveys early on whenever I started that had something to do with that. Do you feel your value, the work you do is valuable to the patients? And I really have thought about that from that day on. And I know what I've learned is that, yes, it absolutely is, because my job helps people who are making decisions, clinicians as well as leaders within the organization, to better care for patients, to make better decisions for them. And so, even no matter what the job is within our organization, within Advent Health, all of us care for each other and we care for our patients. So being able to reinvest in that each day is very valuable, and that every career is valuable to the patient in some form or fashion. But yeah, my passions for veterans, I know we've hit on that a lot, but just continuing to move that forward, put spotlight on that, hopefully help somebody, even if we never hear what their story is, how we've helped them, just to know that there's potential we're doing some good in the world is hopefully the focus that someone would take away from this chat today.
Yeah, most definitely. And I can speak for Brandon and I and say that your story has certainly impacted us, and we know it will impact others listening. And we appreciate you, your time today, and just for you giving us a glimpse into your story, because we know there's so much more, but being able to give that overview is really impactful. And again, to our listeners, thank you for listening to the Whole Career Podcast. Be sure to subscribe to the show on your favorite podcast platform to stay up to date with the latest episodes. And if you have any questions or topics you'd like us to cover in the future, feel free to reach out to us on Instagram at Life at Advent Health. Until next time, take care. Thank you so much again, Scott. We appreciate you.
Thank you.